Hello and welcome to No First Physics, where we come straight to the point immediately. So far, we have understood electric flux, Gauss's law, and Gaussian surfaces, and now it's time to use all of them together to derive the electric field due to an infinitely long straight charge wire. Yes, this video is slightly longer than usual, but if you watch it carefully till the end, you will develop a very strong conceptual understanding how Gauss's law is actually applied. And towards the end of the video, we will also solve a couple of entrance examination questions based on this concept. So I urge you to watch this video till the very end to get the complete benefit of this lesson. Let's begin.
So we understood Gauss's law and Gaussian surfaces, and here is an application of Gauss's law to find out the electric field due to a uniformly charged infinite long wire. Before we start that, let's recap Gauss's law. Gauss's law says that the net flux through a closed 3D surface, the surface has to be three-dimensional and it has to be closed, is 1 upon epsilon times the net charge enclosed by the surface. And we had these two equations. Electric flux is equal to Q upon epsilon naught, where Q is the net charge enclosed by the surface, epsilon naught. And we also looked at phi E is equal to the surface integral of E dot A. And this was equal to phi E is equal to integration of E dA cos theta. So this is what we studied in Gauss's law. Now let us look at a uniformly charged infinite long wire. So let us say this is an infinitely long uniformly charged wire. So first understand what do we mean by infinitely long. When we say infinitely long, it doesn't mean actually infinitely long. It only means that the length of this wire is very large from the distance we are going to focus on. So let us say we want to find out the electric field at this particular point. This distance will be very, very small as compared to the length of the wire. For example, the length of the wire could be 5 meters, and here we are trying to find out the distance at 5 millimeter probably. This distance is 5 millimeter. In that case, we will say that this wire is infinitely long. So that is the meaning of infinitely long wire, right? So that's infinitely long. What do you mean by uniformly charged? Uniformly charged means the charge is uniformly spread throughout this wire. So let us say we have this wire and it is positively charged. The electric field due to this wire will be as shown in the diagram over here, pointing away from the positive charge. So this is the direction of the electric field pointing away from the positive charge. Now this is an infinitely long wire, and therefore we are not interested in the total charge on this because that will be very, very large or infinite. What we are interested is in the charge per unit length, which we call as linear charge density. What is the charge per unit length? Q by length, and we will denote it by lambda. So let us say this particular wire has a linear charge density of lambda. That means lambda is equal to the total charge in this wire divided by the total length of this wire, Q upon L. What would that mean? That would mean that if I take 1 unit of this wire, then the charge on that wire will be lambda into 1. Let's say 1 meter. So lambda into 1. If I take 2 meters, then it will be 2 lambda. If I take 3 meters, 3 lambda. So I get an idea about the charge on the wire for a small part of the wire. Therefore, we have this surface the linear charge density lambda. Let us say we are interested in finding out the electric field at point P, which is at a distance r from this wire. So this small r, this is the distance from the wire r. This is the point P over here. We are interested in finding out the electric field over here. Now, as we have studied, whenever we want to find out the electric field, one of the ways to do that is to imagine a Gaussian surface around the object in which we have the charge. Now we have to choose the Gaussian surface carefully. We have to make sure that the Gaussian surface is symmetric with respect to the charge. The entire charge should be inside the Gaussian surface, and the Gaussian surface should not pass through charge. And therefore, what we do is we choose a cylindrical Gaussian surface like this. So this dotted line indicates the cylindrical Gaussian surface that we have selected, whose radius is r. So we choose the size in such a way that the radius of the cylinder is equal to the distance at which we want to measure the electric field. So that is r, and the length of the cylinder or the height of the cylinder, whatever we call it, is L. So I have chosen this Gaussian surface around this particular wire. Right. Now we know that phi is given by Q upon epsilon naught by Gauss law. Phi is equal to Q upon epsilon naught. So let us first find out Q for this Gaussian surface part. So Q for this Gaussian surface part will be lambda into L, because the length of this particular Gaussian surface is L. That means the length of this wire which is enclosed in this cylinder is L, and therefore the charge which is enclosed in this Gaussian surface is L into lambda, because lambda is the linear charge density. So Q is equal to lambda L for this much length of the wire which is enclosed inside the Gaussian surface, and therefore I can write phi is equal to lambda L upon epsilon naught. So I have got an idea about the electric flux through this Gaussian surface by using this formula lambda L upon epsilon 0. Let us find out the flux using the second formula. So to use the second formula, what we have to do first is look at the various surfaces involved, because the second formula involves area. As we can see over here, there are three surfaces over here. Surface 1, which is the top circular surface of the cylinder, 2 is the curved surface of the cylinder, and 3 is the bottom surface of the cylinder. So if I show the cylinder something like this, then this top one is surface number 1, the curved surface is surface number 2, and this is the surface number 3. We know that phi is equal to surface integral of E dA, the dot product of E into dA. And there are three surfaces, surfaces 1, 2, and 3. That would mean that the net flux coming out of this Gaussian surface will be equal to phi 1 plus phi 2 plus phi 3. So I need to find out the flux coming out through all three surfaces. Now, if I want to find out the flux through the surfaces, I should have an idea about the angle theta. The angle theta is the angle between E and A, because over here this is going to become integration of EA cos theta, because this is the dot product of E and dA. This should be dA, E dA cos theta. So I should first find out this value of this theta, the theta angle between E and dA. So first let us begin by the top surface. If you look at the top surface, the area vector will be outward normal, so directing upwards, and the direction of the electric field is shown over here to the left or to the right, and therefore the angle is 90 degrees as seen over here. Let us look at the second surface. In the second surface, outward normal, that means coming out like this. Electric field is in the same direction, therefore theta is 0. This is the direction of the electric field. What about the bottom surface? Outward normal means pointing downwards. Direction of electric field remains the same, so the angle over here is 90 degree, and therefore theta is 90 degree. And we know that cos 90 is 0. So the flux due to these two surfaces, surface number 1 and surface number 3, will be 0, because the formula for flux is E dA cos theta or EA cos theta. If theta is 90 degree, cos 90 is 0, so flux will be equal to 0. And therefore I can say that phi 1 equal to phi 3 equal to 0. That is, the top surface and the bottom surface flux is 0. That would mean that the net flux is due to surface 2 only. So net flux is equal to phi 2. Phi 2 means integration of E dA cos theta. Cos theta, theta is 0 for this, cos 0 is 1, so this term will become 1. So I will be left with integration of E dA. Now, for this entire surface, E is constant, because the charge is symmetrically placed and all the points on the surface are equidistant from this wire. Therefore, E is constant. So I can take E out of this integration, E dA. Integration of dA means the entire surface area of surface 2, and that would be equal to 2 pi r into L. You know that the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi RL. The total area of a cylinder is 2 pi RL, which is the curved surface, plus 2 pi r square, where 2 pi r square are the two circles on the top and bottom. But these we are not including, so you have only 2 pi RL. So E into 2 pi RL will give me the flux coming out of the curved surface area. So now I have obtained phi using integration of E dA cos theta, and earlier I had found out phi using Gauss's law. So what do I have now? So I have these two values, lambda L upon C epsilon 0 using Gauss's law, and this using integration of E dA, E into 2 pi RL. So I can equate these two now. So I'll get lambda L upon epsilon 0 is equal to E into 2 pi RL. And from this, I can get an equation for E. The L will get cancelled out, and I'll get an equation for E as lambda upon 2 pi epsilon R. If you look at this equation closely, you will find that 2 pi and epsilon 0 are constants. So if I know lambda, that means if I know the linear charge density of the wire, and if I know the distance at which I need to find out the electric field, I can find it out. I don't need to make any other measurement. I need to simply know the surface charge density, or the linear charge density, linear charge density of the wire. The moment I know linear charge density of the wire, I can find out the electric field at any point, putting that value of R. So this is the electric field at a distance R from an infinitely long, uniformly charged distributed wire whose linear charge density is lambda. So this is the equation that we obtained. From this equation, I can say that E is inversely proportional to 1 upon R. So as I move further and further away from the wire, the electric field keeps on decreasing. And therefore, if I plot a graph of E versus R, I'll get a graph like this, inversely proportional. The reason why we mentioned this is because for a point charge, the equation that we had for E was E is equal to KQ by R square. So E was inversely proportional to R square in case of a point charge. But this is not a point charge. This is a wire in which the charge is distributed uniformly. So it's not a point charge. In that case, E is inversely proportional to R, not R square. Right. So we have got this equation. Let us try to look at a question on the same concept. This was a question asked in the advanced JEE exam of 2015. An infinitely long uniform charge distribution of charge per unit length lambda lies parallel to the y-axis in the yz plane at z equal to root 3 by 2. So this is z by x plane. This is the wire or line charge, as we call it. This is the line charge, and it is at a distance root 3 2 by a from this xy plane. If the magnitude of the flux of the electric field through the rectangular surface ABCD, so there is a circuit area here over here ABCD lying in the xy plane with its center at the origin. So the center is at the origin, and this is lying in the xy plane. Is lambda L upon n epsilon naught, then value of n is. So we have to find out the value of n. We have been given the flux passing through this area ABCD. The dimensions of the area are also given A and L. And we have this wire at a distance root 3 2 by a. Please note that this is root 3 2 by a, and this is a, and this length is L. So how will we handle this? What we'll do is we'll do the same thing that we did earlier in the video. There is a wire over here, so we'll imagine a Gaussian surface, a cylindrical Gaussian surface around it, such that this particular area ABCD is a part of that cylinder. So if I look at this particular wire from here and imagine a cylinder over here like this, going like this, such that this particular surface is a part of this. In fact, I can show a bigger cylinder like this, such that this is a part of that cylinder. So if I'm looking at it from this side, I will get a view something like this. This is how I will view it. This is the wire, the line charge. We are looking at it now as a point. It is coming out of the page of the wire. This is the imagined Gaussian surface, a cylinder. This is the plate. PC is the plate ABCD, which we had seen in the diagram. And the distance of this plate from this wire is root 3 by 2a, which is given to us. This length of the plate is given to us as a. As we saw in the previous diagram, this distance is a. That means the length of the plate is a, and this distance from the wire is root 3 by 2a. So coming back to this diagram, this is a, this is root 3 2 by a, and let us say this entire angle is alpha. We've taken this angle as alpha. So if I look at triangle, let me call this point D. If I look at triangle ABD, then what will I get? If I take tan theta, the angle will be tan theta by 2. So tan theta by 2, because I am taking only this angle for triangle ABD, tan theta by 2 is equal to a by 2. This is a by 2 because the entire length is a, and height is root 3 by 2a. So a will get cancelled out, 2 will get cancelled out, and I will have 1 upon root 3. 1, and therefore theta 2 will be equal to 30 degree. Theta 2 will be equal to 30 degree. And then I'll get, therefore theta is 60 degree. This is 30 degree. This entire angle is 60 degree. So now I have got this entire angle which is reaching out to this particular plate. So this plate subtends an angle of 60 degree to this wire. So we have been given, we know that for 360 degree turning, if I take the entire cylinder, then the flux is lambda L upon epsilon naught, as we saw earlier, lambda L upon epsilon naught. So for 60 degree, that means for this plate, what will be the flux? Obviously, if this is 1/6, this will also become 1/6. So the flux associated with this particular plate will be lambda L upon 6 epsilon naught, 1/6 of this. And if I compare with the formula given in the question, if I compare it with this formula given in the question, lambda L upon n epsilon naught, then n will become equal to 6. So this is how we can find out the value of n using our understanding of flux for a uniform long wire. Thank you.
So that was electric field due to an infinitely long straight wire using Gauss's law. Notice how choosing the correct Gaussian surface and using symmetry made the entire problem so simple. And this is just the beginning. In the next video, we will apply Gauss's law once again, this time to find the electric field due to a charged cylinder. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe to Know First Physics. Also, please don't hesitate to share your questions, queries, doubts or comments in the comment sections, and I'll be more than happy to respond to those. Until then, keep learning physics, and I will once again connect with you in the next video on electric field due to a cylinder. Thank you.